Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating and honestly, sometimes pretty chilling intersection of human behavior and forensic science. We're going to look closely at how specific investigative techniques and the ability to spot evidence patterns literally dictate whether a complex criminal investigation in India succeeds or completely fails. We'll see exactly how investigators read a crime scene and what happens when they get it right versus when they get it tragically wrong. Now, a criminal's signature, or their modus operandi, basically acts as a psychological map for investigators. It's that distinct pattern of behavior or a highly specific marker left behind that lets detectives link seemingly random, disconnected crimes together. Finding this pattern? Well, it's often the absolutely crucial first step in taking a case from cold to closed. To see exactly how this plays out in the real world, let's kick things off in Pune, back in 1976. The city was absolutely terrorized by the now infamous Joshi-Abhyankar serial murders. We're talking about 10 brutal murders committed by a group of 4 commercial art students from the Abhinav Kala Mahavidyalaya. They went on this terrifying spree of robberies and killings, but ultimately, a very specific pattern is what gave them away. Just look at the timeline here. It shows a classic violent escalation. In January 1976, they kidnap and murder their own classmate, Prakash Hegde, dumping his body in a barrel. By October, they've escalated to a horrific home invasion, murdering the Joshi family. Fast forward to March 1977, they kill Anil Gokhale and dump his weighted body in a river. Now, for a while, the police thought these were just separate, botched robberies. But as they dug deeper, a massive detail finally emerged. And that detail was a simple nylon rope. When Anil Gokhale's body surfaced, a police team led by Inspector Muhnochwa noticed something really distinct. The nylon ropes used to tie the body to an iron ladder were fastened with a highly specific knot. It was identical to the earlier murders. Recognizing that exact pattern flipped a switch. The investigation shifted from random robberies to a targeted hunt for serial killers. And it worked. It eventually led to the killer's arrest and their execution in 1983. So the Joshi-Abhyankar case is your textbook example of a signature actually solving a crime. But that brings us to a really frustrating reality of forensic science. Recognizing a pattern doesn't automatically mean you solve the mystery. You have to ask yourself, what happens when you have the signature but the perpetrator remains a complete ghost? Section 1. Unsolved. Stonemen and Beermen. Let's examine 2 of Mumbai's most infamous phantoms. These are killers whose distinctive patterns are literally burned into the city's history, but they were never brought to justice. Look at the contrast here. Starting in 1985, you had the Stone Man. He targeted homeless ragpickers sleeping alone, brutally crushing their heads with stones weighing up to 30 kilograms. Then, jump to 2006 and you get the Beer Man. Totally different but equally distinct signature. His victims were found in South Mumbai, mostly killed on Thursday nights, and there was always an empty Kingfisher beer can placed deliberately right next to the corpse. 2 incredibly distinct signatures, 0 convictions. It really makes you wonder, right? If the pattern is staring investigators right in the face, why does the trail go cold? Why were these cases never solved? Section 2. Shifting narratives and flawed tactics. The key here is understanding what goes horribly wrong when investigators rely on the wrong kind of evidence. In cases like the Beer Man and the truly horrific 2006 Nithari serial murders, police utilized some highly questionable methods. Instead of hard physical forensics, they turned to pseudoscience, like brain mapping, or even drugging suspects during interrogation to try and pin the Beer Man crimes on someone without any hard proof. In the Nithari case, the police relied heavily on completely uncorroborated confessions. They were missing fundamental procedural proof, like, actually having neutral eyewitnesses present when the suspect supposedly led them to the victim's remains. And the result of using those flawed tactics? It's absolutely devastating in a court of law. Just look at what the Allahabad High Court noted in the Nithari case regarding the suspect Kohli. His alleged confessions became the backbone of a narrative that just completely crumbled under closer scrutiny. The court pointed out that authorities miserably failed to actually prove the suspect led them to the body parts. The police's narrative just kept shifting around, which really exposes the extreme danger of building a case on stories and coercion rather than actual science. We see this exact danger echoed again in the unresolved 2008 Talwar murders. You might remember this one. Initially, the missing servant, Hemraj, was suspected of killing young Arushi. But then Hemraj's own body was discovered on the terrace, and suspicion shifted rapidly to Arushi's parents. This case is a haunting reminder that reality gets deeply unsettling when initial suspicions shift around without yielding any definitive, irrefutable scientific conclusions. So, we've seen how relying on confessions, superstitions, and shifting narratives basically guarantees failure. How do modern investigators overcome these systemic pitfalls to actually catch a killer?
Section 3. Modern Forensics. The Narabali Case.
To see how justice can actually prevail over shifting narratives, we have to look at a modern, scientifically rigorous approach. Walk with me through the 2018 Telangana Narabali incident. A cab driver attempted to disguise a brutal ritual infant homicide, a human sacrifice known as Narabali during a lunar eclipse. He dumped the body and filed a false police report to shift the blame. But instead of relying on the suspect's shifting story, investigators brought in a mobile forensic unit. They used a systematic procedural framework to literally illuminate the hidden truth. They searched the scene, targeted wiped areas with UV light, applied benzidine to test for blood, and then sprayed blue star luminol. Now, luminol causes this amazing chemical reaction called chemiluminescence, which reveals latent, completely invisible blood. When you put this science into action, the results are undeniable. Under UV light, completely hidden stains on a car seat suddenly glow bright. And beneath a TV stand, where a perpetrator meticulously wiped away blood so it looked perfectly clean to the naked eye, the luminol reveals the exact, glowing outline of the ritual slaughter. Once that latent blood was made visible, the scientific personnel could step in and do their work. Following that visual identification, they used serological testing and DNA fingerprinting. This irrefutably linked the hidden blood wiped from the living room floor directly to the infant's remains found in the river. No confession needed, right? The chemistry told the entire story. Section 4. The Reality of Cold Cases. So, stepping back, what do these forensic triumphs and those systemic failures we looked at earlier actually teach us about the pursuit of justice in India? The crucial takeaway here is that diligent forensic investigation is the ultimate truth teller. It transforms a suspect's mythical explanations or their attempts to wash away the evidence into undeniable evidentiary reality. Rooting an investigation in chemistry and DNA, not just a shifting narrative, pseudoscience, or superstition, is literally the only proven way to solidify a criminal's distinct signature into a lasting conviction. From a detective simply noticing the pattern of a nylon rope knot in 1976, to scientists using glowing luminol to uncover invisible blood today, forensics has come an incredibly long way. Considering how fast DNA fingerprinting and chemoluminescence are advancing right now, it makes you wonder, what hidden mysteries will science illuminate next? Will the unsolved cold case eventually become a thing of the past?